Hello, everyone. Susanna Song here with the Sejong Cultural Society, and I have the privilege of announcing our 2022 Sejong Writing Competition Adult Division winner, Martin Willitts. Martin is joining me now. How are you, Martin?
I'm very fine. I hope everybody's feeling fine too.
Well, Martin, tell us a little bit about yourself and where are you based today?
Well, I'm in Syracuse, New York, and I used to be a professional musician. And I started when I was about 7 years old, playing with the local orchestra on classical music. By the time I was 12, I was playing what was called live radio, and I was playing jazz at that time. But over the years, I kept on playing, and then when I became an adult, I ended up as a children's librarian. So I'm used to working with very young children, and I
Okay,
really miss all the children that I used to work with.
I bet. So you've got the heart of a child, I
Thank
would
you.
say. Well, so nice to meet you, Martin. Is this the first Shijo you've ever written, or do you
Yes.
have prior experience?
No, that was my first one. It was a new form to me. Never knew about it. I had to read the directions very carefully. This was something I wanted to try.
Yeah, and tell me what that experience was like. How did you even hear about Shijo, and what was it like to navigate the style?
I'm not sure how I heard about the contest, but when I heard about the contest, I looked it up and I was looking at all the rules and saw how it was you had the different ways of counting. And I had experience with writing haiku, so it was very similar to haiku, but it was also very different. Haikus usually 757, but the Sijo is entirely different. It's much longer, a lot more counting involved. And I'm not really all that good at counting all the syllables. So I had some concerns that I was counting them right.
Well, tell us what inspired this Shijo that won first place.
Again, it was a lot to me similar to haiku. So the first thing I was thinking of was nature imagery. And I spent a lot of time out in the woods, walking around and looking at things. So the ability to get into the nature was relatively easy for me. Other than that, I don't know what else to say about it. It was not the first draft because I was so concerned with all the counting. And if anybody wanted to try this style, it is different with how you have to count everything. And I really was not sure I was doing it right. So I kept looking at it and looking at it. And that's the only advice I could give to anybody.
The title of your Shijo is Night Music.
Correct.
So a reference to your passion, your love for music in your
Right.
teenage years. Can you please read it for our audience today?
I'll try. It is called Night Music. A slur of crickets builds tension and tensile strength noises, winding and unwinding, violin strings snapping every night. I shout, stop, silence in the hot night. Then frogs start bassoons.
Mm.
So you can see that my classical background of sitting in an orchestra with all those instruments came into this poem. And I was thinking also the sounds that the crickets and frogs make. Um, and when you are out into the woods, you will hear all these very strange high-pitched sounds of the crickets. I love crickets. There are some cultures that consider crickets very lucky. And you would hear the frogs, and they were a much deeper tone. But there's something called tree frogs that are very high pitched as well. And I did not put them in because they were a harder sound to describe. It would be like if you had somehow amplified a piccolo at its highest pitch. That's what I was thinking of when I was writing this poem.
Well, you did a fantastic job. It definitely elicits a lot of imagery, and I imagine it and I can hear it. So very well done.
Thank
What
you.
advice, Martin, would you give to those who are just getting started?
Okay, I again, it's those syllable counts, and there's a nice description on the site for people to look at in case they still don't understand. And is 14, 16 syllables for a total of 44 and 46 syllables. So that takes time to figure out. And then you have a description of your first line, their second line, and the third line. So you know what the count's supposed to be. And that's what I was working with the most, because I didn't understand the 3, 4, 4, 4, even though I know music measures.
Sure.
And second line is 3, 4, 4, 4. And then the last is a 3, 5, which is a very unusual conclusion to the piece. So it took a while to figure that out, and I hope I succeeded.
Well, you certainly did, because you are the first place winner.
Thank you.
And it is impressive. I will tell you this, Martin, that your first shot at Sijo, the judges thought you nailed it. So congratulations.
Thank you. It made me think about doing it some more and writing some more of that style, just because it is a structure form. It is a challenging form for people that have done haiku or renka or tanka or any other style of formal poems like that. Is another interesting form to try. And I would recommend that people at least try it, even if you don't succeed. And it is, I would hope that there's more magazines that start this style. It is a really fascinating project. I'm not formally trained as a poet. I've never had a poetry course. So whatever I know of poetry is from just writing it and trying. And there's no reason for at least trying and even failing, because you learn through failure. My wife runs a local poetry group, and I'm thinking of using this form with her poetry group so others can learn about it. And then I can tell them about the contest, so maybe some of them will enter, because the more people know about it, the better. I just wish I was in a position to teach somewhere at a college or high school or something else, but unfortunately I can't. So the best I can do is try to talk to the people that I meet along the way.
Well said. You've got to give it at least a shot, and hopefully the Sijo style of poetry is picked up in more schools, and more writers are able, like yourself, are able to share it with their peers and their colleagues, and it becomes better known across the world, and it's starting to. So thanks to you, Martin. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, thanks to our audience. And if you have any questions about Sijo, or would like to learn more about the style of writing and poetry, please check us out on our website here at the Sejong Cultural Society. Take care. Thank you, everyone.